Up next, we sit down with the host of the Daily Detroit podcast, Staes and Norris to talk about the mayoral debate we're putting on next week in partnership with ECN and Outlier Media as Detroiters prepare to select the 76th mayor. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages. I'm Orlando Bailey of Outlier Media and Authentically Detroit.
And I'm Staes of Daily Detroit.
Detroit, we've got something special coming up that you won't want to miss.
That's right, Orlando. At 10 a.m. on Sunday, June 21st, we're bringing together Detroit's mayoral candidates for an in-depth community forum right in the heart of the Eastside.
This isn't your typical candidate event. We're talking real issues, real solutions, and real talk about Detroit's future.
Join us at the Eastside Community Network at 4401 Connor Street in Detroit from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
We'll be joined by my Authentically Detroit co-host and community leader, Donna Davidson, to moderate this important discussion.
Space is limited, so make sure to RSVP through the Eventbrite link in our show notes. Oh, and on that form, there is a spot for your voice to be heard to help shape our questions and the conversation.
That's right. Whether you're a longtime resident or new to the city, come by ECN on June 21st. It's your chance to hear directly from the candidates who want to lead Detroit. Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Detroit's East Side at the Stoudemire inside of the Eastside Community Network headquarters. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
We want to tell you thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Today, Donna and I are joined by the host of one of the most listened to podcasts in the city. Staes and Norris of Daily Detroit are here in the studio. This appearance and partnership has been years in the making. So for the first time, I am really happy to say, Norris, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
It is an honor to be in your house.
Yeah, welcome to our house.
Yes.
Welcome to our house. Norris, welcome.
Oh, man, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting us. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming, but it's here. It's here. Donna, it's good to see you. Grandma. Hey, Grandma. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My third grandchild was born. My second grandson still... I'm not going to try to remember the second name.
Hold on. I could pull it up for you.
Pull it up. So my son-in-law, future son-in-law, is Nigerian. And so
Still Akanbi Heston Alade.
Akanbi Heston Alade. Heston is my father's middle name and my grandfather's middle name. My father and grandfather are Donovan Heston Givens Jr. and Sr. And so Heston is a family name that was very special. And Akamde is Akambe. I'm Akanbi. I'm really embarrassed by this, but he is.
It's not even 24 hours in.
Not.
So you got time.
That's David's mother's father's name.
Oh my gosh.
And so the grandparents are honored in the middle names, and then of course Alade is the last name. So
we love that.
It's beautiful.
And I love Steele.
Beautiful.
Like,
right?
How did they come up with Steele? I love that name.
Camille came up with that.
Oh, I love it.
David came up with some names she wasn't really feeling, and she said, "Let me work on this." And so she came up with Steele. And so, we've been spending the week with his big brother, Maverick.
Yes.
And Maverick Adebayo Walker Alade. And Adebayo and Walker are from their fathers. And so they've honored their ancestors with these names. Really excited about that. He's born a little early, but he's healthy. He's 5 pounds, 2 ounces. So, big enough to be strong and beautiful. So I'm really happy as a grandmother. My granddaughter, Luna, the oldest, the 7-year-old, was with us this week. And it was like a family kind of thing, family bonding while we were waiting to see what was going to happen, because anytime you have premature labor, it's scary. Mm-hmm. And when it's like I'm that my
Donna's
kids
a
call
mama
me
bear.
Mama Love, Mama
She is
Bear.
Mama
And so
Bear.
I want to be there and supervise everything, and I can't, and it's like, okay, I have
and
to kind
tell
of
everybody what to do.
and
go off
supervise all the doctors and nurses, and they don't need that from me, right? And so I have to also learn how to step back and let them handle it, which they did beautifully.
How's that going for you?
It's going well. I'm learning some things about myself, and but the other thing that happened is that when Camille went into the hospital and everything happened, I missed my mother so much. I just was like, I have to call mommy, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I have to call my big sister, and I couldn't. And my big sister would have turned 70 on the 10th. And so I was just messed up on the 10th. At the same time, they are part of our family. I'm sure their spirits were running through us. And I realized that I've been reading Tina Knowles' book, Matriarch.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, I finished. It's beautiful. I love Tina Knowles. She and I are best friends. She just doesn't know it yet. But she's a really good person. Like, if you read this book, she's not like this stage mother. She's just a really good human being. But I realized this weekend that I am the matriarch in my family. And that messed me up. There's nobody older than me.
That transition thing, yeah.
I'm it. And so, there's no grandmother, my aunts. I have 2 aunts who are still, alive, but they are not mentally capable of serving in that capacity. And so this other memory, and I'm going through this thing of step up into that role of matriarch. And matriarchs really can't control. We have to sort of, learn how to step back and to trust that the people that we brought into this world are capable of doing what's necessary.
That you raised them right.
I raised them right.
But you cooking on Juneteenth, though, right? Matriarch. You bringing everybody together.
Now, let me see if I can explain something. My daughters are both amazing cooks.
Yes, they are.
I'm a good cook.
I can vouch for Camille for sure.
Oh, my goodness. Camille and Sarah, when they get together, it's crazy. So they took over cooking duties when they became adults. They were like, no, we got this from now, mommy. They've taught me how to be a better cook. But cooking is something I conceded years ago. It's the rest of it that is a learning process.
Well, I lost my mom when I was 10. And I'll tell you, even decades later, you feel their presence without a doubt in everything that you do.
And you carry them.
Oh, for sure.
You carry all of them with you. Yeah.
It was last year I realized that my mother is actually in me, in my cells.
Yeah.
Physically, right? Your parents are always with you in your cells.
For sure.
In your DNA. And so you inherit some things. And then my grandmother, I really love my mother's mother. My grandmother's like my heart too. And both of them were real freedom fighters. My grandmother was literally a freedom fighter. She was like the radical in the family. And so people came by it naturally. My grandmother was a radical. And so this year, with everything happening in the world, they're showing up and they're like, no, you got to do something about this. And the most important thing is my mother reminds me to love, because my mother really led with love. And my grandmother reminds me to fight. And so fighting with love has to be what we do from now on. And it's going to be, I think, the subject of what we do next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Is fight but love, remembering that people are human and we are frail and none of us is perfect. We all, struggle to be the best people we can be of ourselves every day. But same thing with politicians. It's just
Same thing. Yeah, we're so happy to dive into this discussion. I mean, we got Jared and we got Norris here. Jared, welcome back home to the East Side.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
You have a really amazing East Side story.
All right. So when I was growing up, our first house, I was born in Hudson Hospital.
Yeah.
And, my first house as a kid, was over by Van Dyke. And, we had to move right around school age when my front porch fell off. This was the 80s. Okay? Things are a little different. And my grandmother, who lived in Indian Village, came up with the idea, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and support your dad's rent instead of sending you to private school. Because, DPS in the 80s, a lot of people had a lot of feelings about it. I didn't have any choice in this matter, of course. And so we get one block into the suburbs. And in that one block, it's like the border is actually split down the middle of the block. And at the time, that border actually went through some of the houses, like the old border. They didn't adjust it to the alley. Mm-hmm. And so the apartment that we rented, one part of it was in the park, one part of it was in Detroit, and the line was right around between my room and the kitchen. So I'd go between my room and the kitchen, And I was very entertained by the mayor at the time because I was, 8, 9 years old. Mayor Coleman Young. And to me, I didn't know anything other than he swore a lot.
Yes, he did. On television.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I would be like, I'm in Grosse Pointe. Then I'd hop like a foot over into the kitchen and I'd be like, I'm in motherfucking Detroit. And then I'd hop back over. I'm in Grosse Pointe. I'm in motherfucking Detroit. And then I'd hear my dad from the living room, stop yelling motherfucker across the house.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I would have not have survived for whatever age you were if that were me.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be here to talk to y'all.
I would
if
not be here to talk to you guys about that story.
Well, I grew up in a different kind of family. So my sister and I, we used a lot of choice words and sometimes we strung them all together. And I'm not going to tell you, we got really mad at each other. We just called each other GDMFB,
Listen, a swear word well placed has a lot of impact.
It does. And so I still, as I was sharing with you.
With the vocal variety and like the punchiness at the right time.
Listen,
you know how to cuss people out, Donna. You know how to cuss.
No, I don't cuss people out usually.
No, but you know how to cuss.
Without cussing.
Yeah.
I don't usually cuss at people. I usually just cuss in conversation.
Yeah.
I try not to cuss at people.
Yeah,
I try not to, remember, fight with love. So
but like when me and Donna, when somebody then said something, because I told y'all Donna's mama bear. So if somebody then came for me or something, we having a private conversation, that private conversation is filled with choice words. And she just knows how to place them accurately. And I love it.
Well, my other grandmother taught me how to fight. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But one grandmother taught me to fight. The other one taught me how to fight. And my mother taught me how to love.
Donna know boxing.
There you go.
That's so funny.
Listen,
float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
All of the above. Or, did Tommy Hitman Hearns have a line that he used? Nah, because I'm trying to keep it Detroit. Did Joe Louis have a line? I'm going to beat you up.
That's pretty much it.
I'm from the East Side. That's probably was Joe Louis's line. I'm from the East Side.
My father grew up in the same neighborhood as Joe Louis and knew Joe Louis, and he would be very offended. I mean, Joe Louis is older than my dad, but he talked about what a gentle man Joe Louis was. He was a very kind and gentle person who also knew how to fight. He was not, he was not one of those people who just walked around wanting to fight people all the time. And in fact, when they first built that, monument downtown, my father was really offended by the fact that it was the fist. Because he said it did not represent his heart, that he was so much more of a person than that.
Yeah.
So not him, but maybe that gentle part of me.
Yeah. Listen, so in partnership with Eastside Community Network, Outlier Media, Daily Detroit, we are putting on a mayoral debate. You guys have heard it in our ads. It's going to be on June 21st, Saturday, June 21st, beginning at 11 a.m. And it's going to be moderated by Donna, Jared, and myself. And so what today's episode is going to consist of is us sort of, talking about what we expect and talking about some of the stories that are in the Detroit zeitgeist that the candidates will not be able to not speak to when they are here on June 21st. But the first thing that we have to let our listeners know and announce, maybe surprisingly or not surprisingly, is that Solomon Kinloch has dropped out of the debate happening on June 21st. He actually dropped out a couple of days ago. Donna, what happened?
I received an email saying that he was no longer available for the debate or the forum, I think they called it. If you have any questions, let me know. And I said, well, I do have questions and concerns about him not honoring his commitment because that's important. And so she responded, I just was not aware he made a commitment. What commitment did he make? And so I responded in detail that he committed to you verbally, that when he came on this podcast, he committed to both of us, that when I saw him at Mackinac at the end of May, he recommitted to me then, and that was not cool. And she said, I'll call you back. And so at this point, I let you know. And then you reached out to Kinloch. What did he say to you?
He said, I love you guys, but there are some things that came up on our side with their own campaign events and that he will not be able to make it, but I'll do anything for you all. And there is a event that if you guys are interested in partnering or co-moderating on, you guys are welcome to do that. I promptly declined because know and understand that co-moderating a campaign-sponsored event is seen as a widespread endorsement, and we are not endorsing candidates.
Certainly
on
not
this platform.
candidates who. I'm not endorsing candidates, period.
Yeah.
But if I was going to endorse candidates, they would not pull out of our event. And, you didn't have an event conflict. You created a conflict. You decided. And this is what I told her when she called me yesterday. She wanted to discuss it further. I don't know why. But she said, let's discuss it, maybe make it go down smoothly. And I said, listen, we had this commitment in place before whatever it is that you scheduled. So you had to decide not to do this in order to do something else. If you're doing this as a candidate, how could I trust you as mayor? If I'm not important enough to honor your commitments and you're breaking campaign promises before you actually win, that just tells me that, you say the people matter and this is a people-centered campaign, but the two events you've agreed to do, one is at Mackinac and the other one is on WDIV. And what does that say to the people in the community who've been calling up and saying, will you show up at my forums? And it's a bad look. She said, well, we're going to reach thousands of people. I said, well, you may only reach a couple hundred, but they might be the right people. Many of those thousands of people that you'll reach through WDIV won't even be able to vote in Detroit. The voters are showing up and they're expecting him to be there. So I still encourage, and I said this to her yesterday, him to break his promise to somebody else, show up late. We're only talking about 2 hours, 11 to 1 p.m. If he gets there late or, whatever, that's okay. If he has to leave somewhere early, that's okay. If he can let us down, he can let them down. And I would imagine that if I was trying to host an event for a candidate who said to me, I have to honor a commitment, and therefore I will be late or leave early, I would respect them for being honorable.
Yeah. And I think this is really interesting that this would come about, considering that the front runner in the race, Mary Sheffield, that is her superpower. She is everywhere. She will pop up everywhere and anywhere. If you barbecuing, she might show up. If it's a block party, she just might show up. A ribbon cutting at the Boys and Girls Club, at the YMCA, she will show up. And that's part of the reason, at least in my opinion, why she is the front runner, because she's visible. And she's visible in ways that so many of the other candidates have not been. And this is not an endorsement. This is not me saying like, oh, this is who I'm voting for. This is just a simple fact that she has the name recognition beyond just a family name, but also name recognition for meeting the voters at the ground level and just saying, hey, I'm over here too.
Norris, I'm really interested to hear your perspective on what I conceive to be a really pointed strategy on part of the Kinloch campaign to essentially shy away from showing up at community-driven forums and debates. Donna mentioned he had done the Mackinac Policy Conference debate. I was at WDIV today. He will be at the WDIV debate on Monday. What do you make of this strategy, and do you think it's going to work for him?
Okay, I look at it in a wider sense.
Yeah.
To me, there aren't that many candidates that are even getting their names out there enough to even be heard. People are not going to vote for you unless they know who you are. And you shouldn't assume that people know who you are. The only candidate with any, I think a lot of the lead that you were talking about with Mary Sheffield is just down the name recognition.
Yeah.
They got to know you before they vote for you. So tying that into the community, you need to be at everything. You need to be doing 18, 20 hour, whatever hour days in this kind of thing, especially when you're not the front runner, and say you need to be at everything you can. And that means community events. That means visual things. It's just got to be this constant noise of everywhere, and when you go down the streets.
Well, he's doing his own thing.
Listen, he has the second highest level of name recognition in the race, right?
For sure.
He has one of the largest churches, not just in Detroit, but in the United States. The name recognition is there.
I mean,
but when you tell
to certain groups.
But many Detroiters, when they did polling, his name recognition was the second highest. It was, up there.
Just to be fair, but though, based on the latest poll that came out earlier this month, he was in third place. The second place was, I don't know.
I know, but I'm saying his name recognition was in, second place in terms of who you'll vote for, but the name recognition was in second place, okay? Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is, you can know who a person is, but not who they will be as mayor.
For sure.
And I think the challenge is letting the community know, who will you be as mayor? number one. Number two, when you show up at these events, prepare for those events by giving people the kind of information that they are looking for to answer those questions.
Beyond platitudes,
Beyond
guys.
platitudes.
And that goes for everybody.
The feedback that I received from some people who were watching the debate at Mackinac from their homes was, he is not giving us the information we're looking for. Somebody said something that was very critical about that. Now, there's an opportunity to sharpen it up. But the other way to take voters for granted is to not do the homework and not do all of the preparation necessary to give them the comfort. You know, if somebody's coming to you for a job interview, and I interview people a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm interviewing them for a job, and I say, you know, tell me what about this job description you think best fits your interest level, and they can't answer that question. It tells me they haven't done their preparation.
Well, and this is an advantage that somebody like Jenkins would have because of her policy experience, her experience in government. But then it still goes back to what we were talking about in terms of the appearances and getting the name out there. And I understand what you're saying about churches, but to answer Orlando's question about what the strategy is, I think the strategy is trying to get to the most engaged people as widely as possible. But I think the folly in that, to Donna's point, is a lot of those people can't vote in the city of Detroit.
I think the strategy is, honestly, I'm going to go to UAW events and let them hold rallies for me. I'm going to knock on every door. I'll go to the Pride event. I'll be in places where I'm not going to have to answer difficult questions. I think that part of the strategy is that. And, you know, I think, you know, I want to be fair. Mary Sheffield has name recognition because she's city council president.
That too.
Not because she's city council president, and she's been on city council for 12 years.
And the family name.
Through some of the roughest times of this city's history.
Absolutely.
Okay? I've heard people say, we don't know if Mary Sheffield is qualified. I'm not saying, this is no endorsement, I'm not saying don't vote for Mary Sheffield. But what I'm saying is, if Mary Sheffield was Martin Sheffield and he was city council president, had been on city council for 12 years, we would not be questioning whether or not he was qualified to do the job. There is something about being a woman, and especially being a black woman, where you have to prove yourself over and over and over again just to show up as equal.
And I think that's really going to come to the forefront after the primary.
It does, but it feels very personal to me.
Yeah.
As a woman who's always had to fight to prove myself. Now, I'm at a certain age where people say, oh, you think you're so good at what you do. But for so long, they didn't. For so long, I had to prove myself as soon as I walked in the room. And that's where I see Mary Sheffield and, to some extent, Santil Jenkins, who are the two most qualified people.
Yeah.
But they are the two most qualified people. If you look at their service records, if you look at what they've done, and I'm not taking anything away from any of the other candidates, but if you look at governmental leadership, both of them have served in leadership governmental posts in the city of Detroit.
I mean, Santil Jenkins can literally just look at some of the electorate and say, I kept your lights on. Like, I helped you with thought. I helped keep your home warm. And like, that is the type of stuff.
I think that should go on the billboard. Santil, if you listening, you need to put your face on the billboard.
I kept your lights on.
That says, I kept your lights.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just to me. That's just the reality of how some of these candidates should be operating. But it's just, we're not seeing that.
But what I also don't see enough of are just billboards in general. Most of the billboards I see are Sheffield billboards.
Perkins.
Well, I just saw Sheffield's billboard. Todd Perkins has, I think, been running billboard campaigns longest.
He has.
And Santil has a couple. I think Mary just started her campaign, her billboard campaign. Yeah. Haven't seen a Kinloch billboard yet.
What I'm really excited about is our forum, our debate.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that because I think we're going to ask the kind of questions that are going to get real answers from the candidates. Specific answers from the candidates. What I've heard from some people is they're all saying the same thing. And some of the questions are, what do you think about keeping business in Detroit? Well, I think it's a good idea.
Who doesn't?
It's kind of hard to fight over that, you know. Yeah. So then the devil is in the nuance. We're not saying things like, what do you think about this policy related to keeping business in Detroit? Do you think that we're spending too much money downtown and we are, shortchanging neighborhoods in our approach to keeping businesses downtown? Those types of questions really will help. And these are the questions Orlando and I've been asking in our individual interviews of each candidate. But I think as we ask specific questions that people want to know answers to, one thing we haven't heard, like, is water a human right? Mm-hmm. And if so, what policy changes will you support to enshrine that in, our laws and policies in the city of Detroit? there's things people want to know. We got to ask them.
You know, one of the things that I've been thinking about as it relates to the WDIV event is that it is a regional broadcast network. It's going to be on network television. It is a huge platform, and I'd be interested to see how the candidates use that platform to speak, not just to Detroit voters, but Detroiters who may not always vote, but will still be subject to their policies. I'd be interested to see how they balance speaking to their donor base and groups that may have endorsed them. Like Mary secured the Emily's List endorsement. Solomon Kinloch has the UAW endorsement. And the business community and other lawmakers. Because I think, especially at that platform, I think we should pay attention to what ranks of importance to each of them by who they are directly speaking to with most of their speaking time. I think we will be able to draw many conclusions around how they are going to govern by watching them on that particular platform.
And I also wonder with that particular platform, as I am a WDIV alum myself, I was a floor manager back in the day.
Yeah.
That particular platform is going to reach people who are not as keyed in, where they might vote or they might not.
Sure.
Right? And so will that actually move some of the points in the polling?
That part too. Yeah.
Right? Because you
like,
might be
or
able to
will
pick
it
up.
stabilize?
Yeah.
Like, will Kinloch be able to move up or keep his support? Will Santil or Fred be able to zoom past? It would really be interesting to see what happens and what the pulse is after.
Yeah.
And also like what the performance of Mary Sheffield as the current front runner is going to be, right? Because as we all know, a bad debate performance can literally get you removed from your campaign, as we saw.
I mean, I don't think that's not possible.
I don't see it.
Right.
But,
I'm just saying Mary's good.
No,
I'll
she's
say
very
this.
good.
She's very good in a debate, right?
Yeah.
She's very good at making her point. She comes across. She's very polished. She's done her homework, right? Some of the other candidates have their up moments and down moments. I will say Mary is consistently good in her debate. Santil has been good. Sometimes the messaging gets a little lost, so maybe sharpen it up a little bit. I think we have good candidates. Durhall is actually good at throwing punches, and he's got some really good one-liners, right? I think the questions that we're going to ask are going to really allow us to compare goodness, right? Because we're going to ask difficult questions. And I'm excited about it. I think you're right. I think one of the things I've been interested in is also looking at campaign donations. So I've been to the city, to the county.
Well, and just today, Mary Sheffield, in my inbox, there's an announcement she just crossed $1 million in donations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I know she's getting ready to spend. She gonna spend a lot.
She gonna spend that.
But I mean, I looked at her, who's donating to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who's donating to Santil Jenkins.
The Millerites folks.
It's very hard to find documentation for any of the other candidates because most of them did not declare until this year. And so we're kind of behind. I know we have to.
No, we're good. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do one more hot take surrounding the deportation of a Detroit Public Schools student. We'll be right back. Keep it locked. Have you ever dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Authentically Detroit Podcast Network is here to make those dreams come true. Formerly known as the Deep Network and located inside the Stoudemire, the Authentically Detroit Podcast Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your idea off of the ground. Just visit authenticallydet.com and send a request through the contact page. Interested in renting space for corporate events, meetings, conferences, social events, or resource fairs? The MASH Detroit Small Business Hub is a 6,000 square feet space available for members, residents, and businesses and organizations. To learn more about rental options at MASH Detroit, contact Nicole Perry at nperry@ecn-detroit.org or 313-331-3485. All right, welcome back to Authentically Detroit. We are here with J.R. Staes and Norris Howard of the Daily Detroit podcast. Listen, so something interesting nuance came up this week in Malachi's City Council notebook. Everybody in the city who loves news knows who Malachi Barrett is over at Bridge Detroit, my former colleague. And it is about this deportation case where a student at Western International was on his way to a field trip and got pulled over by Rockwood police. He could not speak adequate English in the police's estimation, and then they called Border Patrol to help them translate, which
Nobody calls Border Patrol to help them translate.
No, I refuse to believe there's not a Spanish-speaking officer.
They violated the law.
Yeah.
In order, a city ordinance in order to get them to translate. Because
so let me set it up. Let me finish setting it up, and then we can go. And so he was arrested and detained by ICE, and eventually he was somewhere in the UP, and then somewhere along this week he got moved to Louisiana. Since then, since he's still in Louisiana, the Detroit Public School Community District held a board meeting where the community really came out en masse, really pushing them to release some sort of a statement in support of keeping him here so that he can finish his high school career. Angelique Power, the president of the Skillman Foundation, released a newsletter yesterday calling for a stay from his deportation. And folks came to general session or formal session at City Council last Tuesday and voiced major concern in front of the City Council. So City Council member Gabriela Santiago Romero said a proposed declaration of opposition to President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement policy spearheaded by city activists is ultimately ineffective and could put an unnecessary spotlight on vulnerable communities in Detroit. The activists urged the council to reject cooperation with federal law enforcement in response to Trump deploying U.S. Marines and National Guard troops to squash protests in Los Angeles. Some asked Detroit to declare itself a sanctuary city, which we are not, okay, formally limiting its cooperation with federal immigration enforcement agencies. Here's her quote. When I see a majority of white folks asking me to make the city a sanctuary city, they're not going to be the ones impacted when U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement comes into our communities. Are they ready to come out and put their lives on the line to protect residents? I think this is much more nuanced, and we need to be more strategic. The night before at the DPSCD board meeting, board member Sherry Gay Danyogo said this, we are cautious in not bringing unnecessary attention that will prevent us moving smoothly in having this issue addressed. And so a little bit of reluctance on part of folks who have been elected to serve and service the concerns of Detroit residents. Okay, Don. I'm sorry. I just wanted to set it up.
No, I just wanted to say that I just don't believe that anybody calls Border Patrol because they need help translating. There are actually official services available to do that. The police department has a process for getting people. It was somebody doing that, and this is the cover-up, and I think that's unfortunate. I think that we do have to do a better job of holding police accountable to following local ordinances, not just in this, but in so many instances. So I want to set that. I do think that this is a nuanced situation. I don't think there's anything any politician or any board or anybody can do in Detroit to stop what's happening on a national level with Border Patrol and ICE coming into communities. It's scary. I mean, the military coming into communities, National Guard coming into communities is very scary. And I can understand how people who are in political positions don't want to say things or do things that trigger that kind of national response because you know that we have a very, thin-skinned person in charge of this nation right now. My son lives in L.A., and, it's scary to think about what's happening there. Luckily, he's not that political, so he'll be safe. He's just partying and doing film stuff. So, but it's
shout out to Philip.
just party and do film stuff.
I don't know.
Philip, you're much more nuanced than parties and film stuff.
I'm saying that he's not a person who's going to go to a demonstration.
Right.
I want the simple
life.
life.
I want that life.
Let's start partying and doing film stuff.
He is not. He's preparing for his birthday party. He's turning 30. Happy birthday, son! But he's not going to be at a demonstration. Now, if my daughters were there, I'd be terrified. But my son, they're going. Okay, my son, not so much, right?
Yeah.
But it's scary as a person. I can understand. There's this thing that sometimes we're doing performative stuff just because we feel like we have to do something and we're not sure what to do. And so having people go to a Detroit City Council meeting and making that pressure when they're not necessarily Detroit residents, I don't know if they are, feels a little bit odd.
So do you think Gabriella had a point, especially when she really keyed in on white folks? She was like, I have caution.
So as somebody who has covered a lot of the protests and demonstrations that have been happening since the start of this second Trump administration, there is an element of that, and I think that she's perfectly within her right to bring that up as a concern, because if you are following Black Threads at all or Black Twitter at all, a lot of us we not going. A lot of us in the African American community have flat out said we are not going to these demonstrations because we've gone to demonstrations before and we have felt betrayed by every other community. We not going. So what I've seen personally, and truth to be told anecdotally, is that it is a lot of people from the suburbs, and it is a few people who live in Corktown, Midtown, and downtown, but there is an element of that. And so I think to ignore it would be silly. However, on the other foot, understanding to Donna's point of what is happening just in the local sphere of things and local municipalities, it's important that the authorities are held responsible, because this whole situation shouldn't have even happened. The kid that was pulled over and is now been held was pulled over because he was allegedly tailgating the police, which I don't know any person, honestly, that would do that.
Right.
But I'm not sure if that is a thing we just pull over and toss a bunch of teenagers out of their car for. So we already are getting into a profiler situation. We're getting into a legal situation, which Donna said there are translation services that they're supposed to be calling Border Patrol. Because you call the Border Patrol and so
when you
what?
want something bad to happen.
So what? They send the guy who probably also doesn't speak Spanish because we don't live on the southern border. We live next to Canada. So off rip, there was a chance that they might not have even sent a Spanish-speaking
Go ahead,
person.
Jer. Go ahead.
I mean, this whole situation is a mess because, number one, the national policy is not thoughtful. It's based on raw numbers. It's not based on, this whole idea of like, oh, we're going after the worst of the worst.
They're picking up thugs from Home Depot and from the elementary school.
Right. This is just about raw numbers to try to hit some sort of goal to make people look good on X. This isn't about actually like fixing any kind of purported situation. So number one, this kid needs to be able to finish their school. I mean, his
deportation is now imminent.
About white supremacy.
Yeah.
This is about white supremacy. Any white person listening to this show, please continue to put your bodies on the line to fight white supremacy, because you have the privilege to do that and maybe not get beat up or shot or killed. I think that one of the challenges, and I see this on my Twitter threads too, we're not doing this. This is not our problem.
We're resting.
The idea that white supremacy is only the problem for immigrants coming from Latin America is offensive. It's not true. It's ahistorical. There are Haitian people who are also at risk of being
40% of those held in ICE detention centers.
But we're acting like. And then those of us who are ADOS, but they were not descendants of slavery because there was no slavery in Haiti,
my gosh,
right?
not
I mean,
ADOS.
the amount of ignorance and the amount of distancing that it takes for us to decide.
I didn't know they were still around.
We're going to have on next Friday at ECN, we're having a unity breakfast. We have got to understand that we are our brother's keeper. Everybody doesn't have to do the same things. I'm not marching, right? But I support other people who do. And what I'm not going to do is say that's not my problem. I think
there is something to be said really quickly. And I know I've been like quarterbacking and pointing to you guys, but the point that I want to make, I do think there is something to be said around the concern of adversarial and retaliatory federal attention and action. Mm-hmm. If the right person in the city of Detroit, or if Governor Whitmer, because we've seen him go to war with Governor Whitmer, says something that he doesn't like, and then we have a real issue, an escalated issue on our hands. And so it's interesting to see how they're towing this line. It really is. And I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a point where it's just like, this is stupid, this is wrong, consequences, whatever.
I just think the city council a city council resolution is performative, right?
It is.
Well, yeah, but so let me tell you about the concern that I have, that there is a strategic cleaving of the Black and brown community that's happening. Let me tell you a story. The other month, I was over in line at Dutch Girl Donuts, right?
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this African-American group of people talking about how worried they are about immigrants taking their jobs. We're just in the donut line. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I'm just listening. And that fear that's being put in to divide Black and brown people is only in service of that supremacy. And so people need to be aware of what's going on there, right?
I'm 100% agreeing with you, Jer. I think that it is absolutely something that is being cultivated by hateful people. And those of us who buy into it based on our own perceived grievances, this is a presidency of grievance. And so if your grievance is what's driving you, my grievances is with those people and not those people. Some Mexican people are racist. This Mexican person did that. This Arab person did that. This Jewish person did that. When we allow ourselves to be pulled into that, or even, Sherry Gay Daniego, who has recently made a lot of really inappropriate statements about other groups of people. Most recently today, I think it was today or yesterday. No disrespect. But what we're not about to do...
It's never a good statement. It said, no disrespect.
Disrespect. But what we're not about to do is turn the focus of Juneteenth to immigration. Nobody helps us. Stop waiting on us to save everyone else. It's offensive. It's wrong. It's not historical. Everybody is not waiting for us to save them. Sometimes they're just waiting for our support. Sometimes they just want to know we care.
Yeah.
And we want to know they care. Everybody doesn't have to go to the same marches and be on the same platform. But when we say things like that this immigration thing is happening around Juneteenth, and therefore we're mad that No King's Day is happening around Juneteenth, and we want to bring this focus back to Black Americans, it's silly to me and destructive, especially from public figures.
The score is the score. And as long as Black and brown communities are separated, what was happening now is going to continue to happen because there aren't enough numbers alone on either side.
I agree with you. And I'm completely agreeing. I actually wrote an op-ed about this a couple months ago, talking about the fact that we have to figure out how to come together and get over it. Because if we don't get over it, then we are playing into the hands of folks who want to see us divided. When they say Mexican people are taking Black jobs, first of all, they're coming here. They have no workers' rights for the most part. The immigrants have no workers' rights. They're living 100 to a house because they don't have housing rights. They don't have OSHA rights, no occupation safety and health, no minimum wage, none of those things. And why are we angry with the people who are working under those subhuman conditions when we're not angry at the people who are hiring them, bringing them over? And those people are never being arrested or taken to prison.
Now that is the key that I'm always talking about, because there's videos that have just come out this week of ICE agents literally running after people as they're trying to work in fields. And these are just normal folks who are just trying to work. But nobody is arresting the guy who owns the field, who's employing undocumented workers.
And who is being enriched by this employment.
Absolutely.
We are angry at each other, and that benefits the people who are benefiting from all of this internal strife.
And I just want to chime in on what Orlando was talking about, because I think it's very key to sort of make this parallel. This is the same thing that we saw happening about a month or two ago when Trump was going after the universities. And you saw certain... And still is. But you saw, Columbia and University of Michigan and Harvard and these universities that were being attacked for having, more liberal... acceptance policies for foreign exchange students. And then, particularly in the University of Michigan, we had the president literally just quit. A little bit of pressure got put on him from the Trump administration, and he just dipped out, quit. And now we are in a situation where if we don't have the ability to learn with freedom and converse with other people in our institutions, institutions of higher learning, if people are afraid to go and make connections with others at protests and at other places, if people are stuck on their social media platforms, ingesting algorithmic content, getting them to hate one another, we are putting ourselves in silos where all we're going to do is be out for me, I, my people only. And that is how we get destroyed.
And that is not intrinsic, especially when and my frame is always talking about Black folks because I love Black people. That's not intrinsic to who we are. We are not traditionally are not a people that has widely subscribed to rugged individualism. We couldn't.
Well,
we had no choice.
We literally couldn't.
And in the history of our path to whatever it is that we are right now, we've always worked with other groups of people around their issues, right?
Always.
When we were fighting, even in my recent lifetime, when the divestment battle was
From
going
from
against
Israel.
South Africa.
Oh, that one.
Divest in South Africa. Who was on our side fighting with us? Palestinians were.
Mm-hmm.
There were Jewish people who were in South Africa getting arrested and fighting on behalf of divestment and freedom from apartheid. We've worked intersectionally with other groups in the past. This idea is me, mine, and it's us against the world is not healthy and it's not historical. It's never worked and it's not going to work right now. I think it's important for us to understand that inhumanity, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere.
Come on, MLK.
And our leaders who were most placed at risk. Look at what happened when Paul Robeson went abroad.
Right.
And he was trying to build international unity with all of these people pointing out that oppression around the world. He was in Russia. He was in Spain during the Spanish Civil War. He was doing in places really fighting on behalf of human rights in Ireland. They took his passport. Look what happened when Malcolm X went to Mecca and came back and said, wait a minute, we're all brothers and whatever, and let's figure out a way to fight against this real problem, which is racism. He was executed. And so Martin Luther King was internationalizing his fight, and he was executed. The greatest threat to white supremacy is not Black people and other people working together. The greatest threat is when we form coalitions and we decide that we are each other's keeper and we're going to do what's needed to be done. And at times such as this, there's never been a time where our cooperation across different groups has been more needed. And so I refuse. The spirit of my grandmother, I told you my grandmother's revolutionary. My grandmother was very specifically a person who was interested in international justice, peace, and freedom. And she visited every continent in the world. She tried to, follow a mini Paul Robeson thing. You'll never know her name because so many Black women like her die and they're not known. But that's her spirit coming out in me saying, let's be unified. Let's love each other. And love is resistance, not separatism.
So make sure you come and join us on June 21st because a lot of this has local implications. Like there's a candidate right now who's saying he supports Trump's policies, immigration policies, and would support the bringing in of National Guard troops against protesters.
All he has to do is pick up a phone call.
You can pick up and call them. And so I'm really, really happy that we're doing this partnership. We are big fans of the Daily Detroit podcast.
I mean, we're huge fans of yours.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that the intersection is happening.
Right.
The chemistry is already, it's going to be good and fiery.
And you know what?
It's going to be good.
And so this is us demonstrating unity, right?
Yeah.
Not coming
because
together
many people
in
want us to be competitors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not coming together in the spirit of competition, but coming together in the spirit of unity and love.
Yeah.
Let's love our city well enough.
That's right.
That we're going to try to hold candidates accountable. I decided I'm not endorsing this year. I'm not going to get publicly behind anybody this year. May the best candidate win. Our responsibility, and I think it's our shared responsibility, is to make sure Detroiters know who that person is.
That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that now after this person wins, whoever becomes mayor, we still have to organize. We still have to do all of the things at the community level to hold them accountable for governing in a way that makes sense. But right now, let's just try to make sure that we're informing our people. And listen, Pastor Solomon Kinloch, the door is open. You can always change your mind. We hope you come. We're not going to attack you. We want you to make your case in front of our audience. And our audience is bigger than you understand and also more influential than you understand. And when you put our audiences together, we have power here too. Not WDIV power, but Authentically Detroit, Daily Detroit power.
If you have topics that you want to discuss on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X. You can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Jer and Norris, thank you so much for coming on Authentically Detroit. We're going to do a post-mortem, too, of the debate.
Yeah, you should come over by our place.
Yeah,
we will.
We'll come to Daily Detroit and do the post-mortem. Yes. Thank y'all so much for coming on. And until next time, everybody, love on your neighbor. I'm Orlando Bailey of Outlier Media and Authentically Detroit.
And I'm Jer Staes of Daily Detroit.
Detroit, we've got something special coming up that you won't want to miss.
That's right, Orlando. At 10 a.m. on Sunday, June 21st, we're bringing together Detroit's mayoral candidates for an in-depth community forum right in the heart of the East Side.
This isn't your typical candidate event. We're talking real issues, real solutions, and real talk about Detroit's future.
Join us at the Eastside Community Network at 4401 Connor Street in Detroit from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
We'll be joined by my Authentically Detroit co-host and community leader, Donna Davidson, to moderate this important discussion.
Space is limited, so make sure to RSVP through the Eventbrite link in our show notes. Oh, and on that form, there is a spot for your voice to be heard to help shape our questions and the conversation.
That's right. Whether you're a longtime resident or new to the city, come by ECN on June 21st. It's your chance to hear directly from the candidates who want to lead Detroit.